front, not the back. That's hilarious.
Oh, we are live. Are you guys go retweet it?
You know it.
Let's get some action on it.
There's nothing to retweet.
What do you mean?
I don't see it.
Oh, Ryan.
I already retweeted it.
Haha, so it's just you, Ryan.
Same
It's just
dude
you
here.
being a slacker.
Slacker.
Yeah.
I've got it. I did it.
You did it. Yay. Happy Friday, everyone.
Let's go.
It's an interesting Friday, to say the least. But we're just going to go with it. We're just going to we're going to ride it out. But first, WGT Golf is not only the most popular golf game in the world, it is the official gaming partner of DNVR. It's become so popular. You guys have filled up the clubhouses that we've had to open a third DNVR clubhouse.
They're called country clubs.
Okay. Well, maybe you should tell Lindsay.
Lindsay, they're called country clubs.
Country clubs. We've filled up 3 country clubs. You golf people and your country club and the words and everything. WGT is nothing like the normal golf culture. Actually, DNVR Golf is trying to beat that golf culture. Anyways, you can download WGT and join the DNVR 3 country club. We host weekly tournaments with awesome giveaways, so make sure you sign up to win easy money and beautiful DNVR swag. Our last major, it was actually our first. Was it our first major?
It was our first major.
It was our first major. We gave a $200 cash prize for the first winner, $150 cash prize for the second place winner, and then the third place winner got a mask, shirt, and hat combo. But now we are going to set where if you play, you'll be entered to win some awesome gear and merch. So definitely check it out. And then look out for the tweets. You'll probably see one for the next tournament on Tuesday and Thursday on the DNVR Sports account. And then again, if you haven't downloaded the app, do that now, WGT Golf, and sign up for the DNVR 3 Clubhouse. And you could do that at dnvrgolf.com.
So close.
Welcome into it. Clubhouse, I think, is the name of it on the app. So go away, Ryan.
You're wrong.
The clubhouse and the courthouse. You can go to all in one swell swoop.
Okay, welcome into the Denver Sports Podcast presented by Breckenridge Brewery. I am not drinking a Breck, but I am wearing their amazing merch, because they've got good beer and they've got awesome merch. That DNVR Broncos country merch is incredible. And then their Broncos country beer is also pretty good, but I can't deny it. My favorite beer will always be Strawberry Sky.
Yep.
I'm a Strawberry Sky girl myself, no doubt.
Strawberry Sky girl. All right. I like that. If you couldn't tell by the headline, today we are talking all about college football. That's why we've got Henry, who covers DNVR Buffs for us. He is the beat writer for DNVR Buffs. And we've got DNVR Rams, Justin Michael, down here. You can see his username. Go follow that on Twitter. And we watched the Rams play a game yesterday. The Buffs take on UCLA next weekend. But Henry isn't going to stay with us for too long, so we're going to talk about Buffs first because Justin's going to hang out with us for a little longer. So, Henry, today, Carl Durrell, head coach for the Buffs, announced that Sam Neuer is going to be the starting quarterback. Buffs fans were
panicking,
surprised, panicking, not really knowing how to feel. My exact emotions were, I don't know. I guess let's hope for the best. That was my exact reaction. Henry, for all those Buff fans, what are your thoughts on Sam Neuer being the starting quarterback?
Well, for those of you who don't follow Colorado football closely, the reason why some Buffs fans have been kind of apprehensive about Sam Neuer through this whole process is, well, there are actually plenty. But one of the big ones is that last year he switched from quarterback to safety, which is kind of a sign that he wasn't in line to get any playing time at quarterback. On top of that, he's a senior. There's some younger options, and a lot of Buffs fans see this as a year where maybe you should focus more on development instead of just winning. But, I never agree with that. I think that whoever your best quarterback is, especially in a shortened off season, especially when you only have think 25 total practices before the kickoff of the season. I mean, you got to give yourself the best chance to win.
He was also in the transfer portal. He was going to leave CU.
Yeah, he wanted to play quarterback. And so after spending a year at safety for the Buffs, he packed up all of his stuff, left Boulder, went home to Oregon. And when Mel Tucker left and Carl Durrell came in with a new coaching staff, they realized that they may have to give him a shot to play some quarterback, and called him and said, you are very much in this quarterback competition if you decide to come back to Colorado instead of transferring somewhere else. And obviously he did.
Ryan, how do you feel about Sam Neuer at starting QB?
I mean, I just think of it like this. You've got Joe Montana, John Elway, Peyton Manning, Sam Neuer, maybe not even in that order. No, I mean, what are you going to do? Like, what I don't understand is what people are panicking over. I don't know what people thought Carl Durrell was going to say today. Like, they thought he was going to walk up there and be like, our starting quarterback is Trevor Lawrence. Like, the options were clear. It was going to be Lytle or Neuer. And we knew from, all the way back at Pac-12 media days, Carl Durrell kind of let the cat out the bag that it wasn't going to be Brendan Lewis. And I think that's like the main conversation to be had here is, well, why is that? Is it because Brendan Lewis isn't ever going to be good, or is it because he's just not ready right now? I think that if Carl Durrell was doing the selfish thing here, he would have made Brendan Lewis the starter and said, like, I've got all the time in the world on my hands here. I probably at least have 3 years with this job. So let me get this kid in and get rolling. And whatever, no one's going to blame me for a freshman quarterback having a tough first season. But I think he did the opposite of the selfish thing here, which is doing what's best for Brendan Lewis. Because when he tells you that Brendan Lewis isn't ready, you have to believe him, especially after he makes it, after he goes and makes a decision like this. Brendan Lewis isn't ready. And what we know from countless different times is that you put a quarterback in when they aren't ready, bad things can happen. And so I think what he's doing here is trying to do the best thing for Brendan Lewis's future and also the Buffs football team this year. I don't think you can, I just don't understand what people are panicking over. I think when it comes down to Lytle or Neuer, I trust them to make the best decision for the football team this year. And I think I know I've also heard from people, in the program that Neuer was the favorite of the team. He's the one that they believe in the most. He's the one that they like the most. He's the better leader. So in the end, I just don't know why people are panicking. I think there needs to be low expectations for the Buffs this year. That's, kind of a given. But I don't know what people are panicking over.
I mean, I think you knew that Neuer was going to be a front runner for this job. He was the second string quarterback for Steve Montes for a while before Blake Stenstrom. And we really haven't seen Tyler Lytle perform at all. Anytime he has gone out there, it didn't look good. So I agree.
He didn't even throw a pass, I don't think, when he did go out there. Did he throw one for an interception?
Yeah.
I think he threw an interception. And then he got hurt. I just think what people are panicking about is really they're both that bad. At least from what I've seen on Buff social media, is it's really Neuer and Lytle. Those are our options. And I agree, like, Brendan Lewis, we knew that from a while ago that he wouldn't be that starting quarterback. But I don't know. Buffs fans are going to be all football fans. They just want that QB, especially after having Sefo and Steve in the last few years. This is an interesting call, especially because I think fans would have preferred Carl Durrell be selfish and Brendan Lewis out there.
Again, that's like the fan view on things, and you have to take the coach view on things to understand decisions like this. So who knows how good Neuer's going to be? Everyone, it's a good dunk on the Buffs, right? That they're starting a former safety at quarterback, but to me that tells you how athletic he is. And when you're not going to have good quarterbacking, you might as well have some athleticism back there. He can make some plays with his feet. They can run zone read. They can run RPO. They can do those sort of things. Again, he's not going to all of a sudden be a world beater. But, Carl Durrell wasn't dealt the best hand in the world here. He's got to do it the best he can with what he has.
Yeah.
It's interesting with that athleticism, saying Sam Neuer has that athleticism. Obviously, we've seen that, but I remember being in the room when Tyler Lytle was signed, and it was signing day, and people were saying that Tyler Lytle was Sefo Lufau, but with more athleticism. Looks like they got that wrong.
I mean, he's still athletic. Yeah. But
saying he's Sefo Lufau,
right,
but with more athleticism, like, come on.
Yeah, I think the thing with Sam is that, like Ryan was saying, is it really does give you more options. This isn't an offense, I think, that's going to be throwing downfield very much. I think that you're going to see a lot more screens and short passes. And on top of that, like, it's just going to be a run-heavy offense. And so while Tyler Lytle, at least in theory, again, we don't really know what the skills are like from either of these guys because we haven't had too much of a chance to watch them. What we have, I don't even know, the narrative has been that Tyler Lytle is a better deep ball thrower and more of your like prototypical pocket passer. And I really do think that in a new offense where so many things are going to be tough for the quarterback because they don't have any experience, going with somebody who is mobile. I mean, we've seen over and over and over again that having a mobile quarterback can change a game. That Rams game last night, sure, they couldn't complete a pass, but they did plenty be able to run it. If he could complete a pass, then things may have been a little bit different.
I recommend playing a quarterback that can throw the football. That would be my input.
How'd that go yesterday for CSU, turning over to their own quarterback kind of controversy? I don't necessarily think it was a controversy. What do you think, Justin? It was Patrick O'Brien or Todd Centeio?
Centeio, yeah.
Centeio.
I thought that both quarterbacks were going to get looks all week. That was kind of my consistent take. I was not surprised that Centeio played. What was surprising was the way that they split the reps, or the fact that they didn't split the reps, I guess would be the way to phrase it. And they just kind of gave the game to Centeio. And I think there was a point in that third quarter when you're still down 2 scores, the Rams had a chance to kind of put O'Brien in, open up the passing offense, and at least potentially, change it a little bit. And they just kind of kept the status quo until it was too late. They did give O'Brien some garbage time snaps, but at that point, I'd almost be more pissed that I got in than not played at that point. You're down 28. It's like, gee, thanks for the reps. But I don't know. It's not a great situation at the quarterback position for either one of these schools. And generally when that's the case, you're not going to win a lot of football games.
Yep. Do you think what really brought Centeio above Patrick O'Brien was the fact that Patrick O'Brien missed a lot of time during camp?
I think that probably had to be a factor. They were probably just, more comfortable with what Centeio could do. Also, they knew that they were going to be missing Dante Wright and Ty McCulloch. That's 2 of their top 4 receivers. So I think kind of in their estimation, they were just like, we're going to try and run the football down their throats. They gave up 300 yards on the ground the week before. They really couldn't contain Centeio on the outside. The problem was they were so inept through the air that Fresno just started stacking the box. And at that point, what are you going to do?
Andre, from an outside view, whose quarterback situation are you more excited for, the Buffs or the Rams?
Rephrase that. Which quarterback situation are you less unexcited for?
I mean, it really goes to speak to the tough situations that both these new head coaches, both at Colorado State and Colorado, have been thrown into. These are veteran offensive minds, both Adazio and Carl Durrell, and I think they're in lieu of not having full preparation, not having a full recruiting class, not really having their guys and their systems to really groom and put in place. And, whether it's injuries or COVID or Warren Jackson dropping out or, Laviska Shenault declaring early and not having the full stack of weapons you would even have in your receiving core, both coaches have to kind of go the more conservative route with the running quarterbacks. I did think it was really weird how the switch wasn't done earlier at Colorado State. So I would warn against Carl Durrell not making this quarterback situation he does have any messier, because that's definitely a lesson to learn from Adazio. And that's where maybe I'd lean more towards the Buffs. The Buffs have yet to screw that QB room up,
Because they haven't played.
Yeah, exactly. Despite what you might hear on Twitter. So, I guess they're starting with a cleaner slate than what the Rams go into, where, they were running the ball. And, to Centeio's credit, he didn't pass it well, but I thought the key pass of the game was 3rd and 7. It goes right through the receiver's hand, bounces off his helmet. Look, no quarterback can have that happen. You got to bail your quarterback out on those key downs and on passes that are right there.
Yeah, Centeio also had 2 really good throws at the end of the half. They dropped one over the middle, then they dropped one over the top. So I think he made like a few good throws in the game. They dropped all of them. And then all the other times it was on him. The one thing that I will say for the Buffs is I just think that a quarterback is being put into a better situation regardless of who they are, just based on the players around them. The Buffs have 2, maybe 3 really good running backs. They have a veteran and we assume going to be a pretty strong offensive line. And they have a bunch of, awesome weapons at wide receiver. So obviously the quarterback can be the thing that makes all of that not go. But if a quarterback that is under talented is going to succeed, it's going to be in an offense like this where hopefully the Buffs are just able to run the ball a whole bunch.
Yeah. What Ryan said is honestly what makes it so frustrating that the Buffs don't have a very clear-cut number one quarterback, because the running backs are really good. The offensive line, defensive line are probably the best groups, definitely the 2 best groups so far during camp. And that's with the running backs being, I think, a top 3 group in the Pac-12 this year. They have the depth at receiver. You have a defense that really turned things on late last season with, I think, 3 NFL defensive linemen up front. Like, it is very easy to talk yourself into any group on this roster, except for the quarterback. And that just sucks, because that's what's most important.
Justin, how do you feel about the Rams offensive line?
I mean, it's early. That was, the one and only time we've seen them this fall. We didn't get to watch any at camp. You have 3 transfers. So kind of the first look that we've had. I will say, I thought they were more consistent than what we saw out of the CSU line over the last 2 years. I don't think they were necessarily the problem in that game. I don't know if the holes were, tremendous at times, but there were a couple instances where CSU backs had space and they kind of missed it. So those are the little things that they've got to figure out, because if you're not tremendous through the air, you can't afford to miss those 3rd and 2s. You can't afford to miss those short yard situations. And CSU, they were 1 of 4 on 4th down. They only got 3 points and 3 trips inside the 10-yard line. That's killer.
Justin, how are people feeling about Adazio and company today? Is the honeymoon period already over?
Well, I don't know if there ever really was a honeymoon, because he wasn't, the most popular choice when he got announced in the first place. He did win some people over pretty quickly, I think, with his introductory press conference. And I mean, I don't think people are pressing the panic button just yet, or like the eject button where we got to get this dude out, fire him, whatever. But if you're talking about coming in and exciting people and giving people a reason to tune into CSU football again, I mean, that was about the exact opposite of what you were hoping for in terms of a debut. It was just like, really, like this 335 days and this is what we get?
Yeah. Henry, what do you think about the pulse of CU fans on Carl Durrell right now?
He wasn't all that popular. I think, the Buffs sent out, based on everything that we kind of heard, it seemed like they were in really deep with Steve Sarkisian, who wound up getting a raise as an offensive coordinator and not having to move. And it kind of felt like the Buffs probably just got played, but there were other names like that bouncing around. And so when you get a name like Carl Durrell, a lot of Buffs fans were pretty disappointed. To me, though, having talked to him probably 15 times to this point, I've been really impressed. It seems like he is somebody who has a very firm grasp on what a good football team is. He knows how to get that out of the people around him. And I think what I like best is his ability to recruit coaches. He has been around for so long at so many different levels, spending like the last 5 years, I think, in the NFL as a receivers coach. But he has done so many different things. Broncos fans here, back when Rod Smith and Ed McCaffrey were the first duo to ever combine or each have 1,000 receiving yards in a single season, Karl Dorrell was that receivers coach. And you can follow him around everywhere he's gone and find these successes. And while he's done all those things, he's had a whole bunch of connections. Obviously, Shanahan was the coach for the Broncos at the time. Well, Taylor Embry, who's now the Buffs tight ends coach, he was working under Kyle Shanahan, working mostly with the tight ends with the 49ers for the last few years. And now one of the brightest young coaching prospects anywhere is on the Buffs staff. You look at Chris Wilson, who's now the defensive line coach. Well, he was also the defensive line coach for the Philadelphia Eagles when they won the Super Bowl with Fletcher Cox and Chris Long and all those guys. So I think that those connections and that experience, plus like the fact that he is one of the many black head coaches who gets one job and doesn't get hired again as a head coach. Luckily he did, but it took him 15 years. There are a lot of signs that would point to him being kind of undervalued as a head coach. But I mean, in the end, it all just depends on what happens on the field.
Yeah, it's a funny season for both these programs where it's like they're both in tough spots, new coaches that got to build it up. There shouldn't be massive expectations going into these first seasons. And it's kind of almost like if you didn't want massive expectations, this would be the season to kind of chill out. And yet we're so starved for sports. We're so starved for some positivity to feel like something's moving in the right direction, that there is some pressure to perform right and like look good in these opening games and not lay an egg like we saw Thursday. So, it is a funny duality going on at these programs right now.
It's interesting just because like I thought there was no expectations for the Buffs this year. And everyone knows like I'm a huge Buffs homer. Like that's, that is my passion when it comes to sports is a lot, born.
CU fans know that. And then I think CSU fans have learned that from seeing you bickering with Justin consistently.
No, I'm actually kind of sad. I don't feel the hate right now for CSU. I feel like something's missing from me.
It's the pandemic. The pandemic has made you crave any type of college football in Colorado. You're just like, fine, let's watch it.
But me being the big homer that I am, like I have no expectations for the Buffs this year. My expectations are like, hopefully we see some young guys make some big plays. Like that's like where I'm at. Like hopefully you see some development. Hopefully you see like good coaching decisions.
Yeah.
I want to see decent process, but when it comes to results, my expectations are so low. So when I saw Buffs fans kind of like unraveling and melting down today over the quarterback decision, I was like, oh, I guess everyone isn't like me in the same boat as me here. I kind of think that Karl Dorrell is like stealing a year here. Like none of these guys are losing eligibility. It's almost like a free 6-7 game preseason
free play
for your next season.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I'm at on this. And I think the fact that, there's no pressure from fans booing in the stands. There's no attendance pressure. All of this for a first-year head coach, I think, is a huge win. And so my expectations are so low for what they do this year. Like I said, I don't want to see bad decisions, from the coaching staff. I want to see an identity in terms of, are you aggressive? Or are you conservative? Become who you are this year. Maybe you experiment a little with certain things. Maybe you try to sprinkle in Brendan Lewis here and there just to, show him what it feels like to be in Pac-12 football. Those are the things I'm looking for. Knowing where they are and the tough position that Dorrell was brought into, it just surprises me to see people having, big expectations. Like, I don't know. It's interesting to me.
I just think Buff fans have missed having something to kind of like feel and be upset. And I think a lot of people wanted Brendan Lewis, even if that was already decided a while ago by Karl Dorrell. Like they just still had some sort of, I don't know what they were hoping for, but I feel like they're like, oh, young freshman, like what can we build? What can we grow from seeing this guy? And like you said, Ryan, I really hope they do mix him in there and we see a little bit of that. My hope with this season is limited injuries. We've seen the way the NFL is dealing with so many injuries because of less practice time, because of everything happening. So I really hope we don't see major injuries come to either CU or CSU players.
You're here.
Yeah. In terms of expectations, though, I think you're totally right, RK, in terms of where the expectations should be. But it's just so frustrating because it's a 6-game season. You open against UCLA and Arizona, 2 of the other 3 bottom teams in the Pac-12 South, 2 very winnable games. You win those games, all of a sudden you're 2-0 with 4 games to play. You steal one of those, then you're 500 for the first time in 4 years. And so because of the small sample size, it's just such a waste to not try to give it a run and try to just get hot. Since
I'm sure that's what they want to do. I'm just saying, like, it's not necessarily realistic to expect it.
Also, it's never been easier to make a bowl, and I feel like Buffs fans just want to win a bowl game.
CSU versus CU in the New Mexico Bowl, baby. Both teams 3 wins. Let's do
make
it.
it
They'll
happen.
get played in El
Let's
Paso
go.
or something. Let's do it.
I think it's easier to make a bowl when you have a free win in the first week of the season.
Oh. Okay, with that, I'm going to ask a question that's kind of unfair on the panel of people we have here today. But with this year being so interesting, both teams, both CU and CSU having new head coaches, both dealing with this quarterback issue, who do you think would have won the Rocky Mountain Showdown? Who do you think would have had a shot at winning CU versus CSU? I already prefaced this may not be a little fair with the panel we have here today, but Justin, Justin, give me your argument. Justin, I want to hear your argument before I hear from anyone else.
CSU had more talent than CU right now at the positions where it mattered most. CU doesn't have a quarterback. CSU did. I don't think either of these teams are very good, but I don't think CU has a tight end as good as Trey McBride. I don't think they have a quarterback as good as Patrick O'Brien. If Warren Jackson would have come back, which he would have in that original format, they can't cover him. They saw that last year. The game's in Fort Collins, first time in 2 decades. And mostly, CU doesn't have a fucking quarterback.
Oh, adult language.
It's that simple.
Easy Friday.
Wait, but you're telling me CSU
Ryan
does have a quarterback, yet they didn't play him?
Well, he missed a bunch of time in camp with COVID, and I'm not going to... O'Brien is better than anybody on CU's roster right now at the quarterback position.
Henry.
Other than maybe the freshman, but...
Henry, give me your argument for CU.
I mean, the easiest argument is that we've literally already seen CSU, and they lost 38-17, and it was awful. You want to go position to position. Like, I like the Buffs offensive line, the Buffs defensive line, pretty much all of the Buffs defense. Like, yeah, Trey McBride is good. Probably better than Brady Russell.
You should probably, dude. Shut up! Oh my god!
I don't know.
We're gonna try and put Brady Russell in the same conversation as Trey McBride. There's not even any point of us going back and forth.
Just you watch. Taylor Embry, new tight ends coach. They're throwing in a whole bunch of new passing concepts for the tight ends. This is his year.
Okay, so I guess that's a bet. Let's make a bet out of it.
How could that bet ever be?
Yeah, what do we do?
Who has better stats?
Yeah, most recent.
It'll be Trey. Sure. What do you want to bet?
That's a bad bet.
You don't agree, Ryan?
Well, I mean, you've got a very good player going up against Mountain West competition versus a decent player going up against Pac-12 competition. You could make the argument maybe
so brutal
that
the vaunted Pac-12 conference, that brutal slate of Utah and Cal and UCLA.
Yeah, 21 point loss.
Utah was a bad example. They were
Stop talking over each other, Ryan and Henry.
I mean,
okay.
You saw CSU last night. Like, I was actually as low on the Buffs' chances of winning in Fort Collins as anyone maybe on the CU side until I saw CSU play last night, and I was like, wow, I was an idiot for feeling like that. Neither team has a quarterback. I can't buy into the idea that CSU has a quarterback and just decided not to play him last night.
I mean, he was second team preseason all league. So like,
And they still didn't play him because they thought he was worse than
Yeah,
the other guy they had. Who
no,
was
it
terrible.
had nothing to do with him being worse than Centeo.
Then what?
That's not why they made the decision. They didn't have receivers. They wanted to run the football. That's what it came down to. It was a bad decision. I don't agree
Bad
with the decision.
Worst decision to put him in then at the end of the game. That's where they really lost me.
If the decision was to put that guy who we saw at quarterback last night at quarterback, then it was a bad decision.
Anyways,
Yes,
I think
play a quarterback that can throw the ball, like we said earlier.
Yeah.
I think CU has the better defense, and
They do.
CSU has a really, really bad defense. And I think CU, regardless of the quarterback, would have been able to score enough points against that defense.
I don't think their defense is as bad as they looked last night, but it was definitely not encouraging at all. The defensive line looked pretty good. They brought pressure. Linebackers looked athletic, but the tackling, third down, Jesus.
That was bad.
Nobody
Andre?
could cover those running backs.
Also,
Yeah.
5 years in a row.
Andre, give me your vote.
I think it's not a tough question because of the panel. It's a tough question because of the timing.
Oh,
You know,
That's the
'cause-
thing. Was this game being played 2 months ago, or is the
Right.
game being played last night? Is Warren Jackson
True.
on the team? Is Dante eligible in this game, or is it a situation where we're rolling Todd Centeo out and a Dante Wrightless CSU football? That's a completely different team.
Because on paper, I could have talked myself into the Rams with all those factors in play. But then you watch, the
Yeah.
team at present clouds your mind with what the team could have been at full strength. And it's hard for me to believe that the Rams could have pulled it through. But I mean, it's too early to make any judgments on this season. And I think both programs are kind of in similar spots where in the trenches, they're starting to reach a level playing field with the other better teams in the conference, but now the skill positions and, as we mentioned, the quarterback position most of all needs to really catch up to the rest of the conference.
I'll be
Well-
curious to see how that CU offense looks next week. So
Yeah.
we can come back to it.
Me too.
Yeah.
we all are very curious to see.
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted some sort of bet place, but you guys avoided it, so whatever. We'll just move on to DraftKings Sportsbook, where you can place the bet. The season is obviously in full swing, and all the action is unfolding over at DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. With so many storylines across both professional and collegiate sports, this is the time to check out all the DraftKings Sportsbook has to offer. If you haven't tried the app yet, head over to the App Store now because you don't want to miss out on these offers. To celebrate the showdown in Happy Valley, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving all new users the chance to turn $1 into $100 when placing a bet on either Ohio State or Penn State. Now, I got my two betting masterminds here on the show right now. Oh, and Henry's made a few appearances.
Yeah.
Andre, Ryan, who are you placing that $1 on, Ohio State or Penn State? Or is it too early? I guess
Both.
it's not too early. It's Friday.
Both.
That is guaranteed money. Both is the guaranteed money answer, but I think Ohio State's an easy $99 to be won. Penn State, they controlled the clock a lot in the game. They ended up losing to Indiana last week, but the injuries they've suffered at running back already are devastating. And with that depleted backfield, I really think Ohio State's going to be able to have their way.
Yeah,
Ryan,
this
you
is
said
one of
both.
those ones where you probably just run the risk of going on Ohio State here, but you really can guarantee yourself a profit when you do these things. But because the investment is so low, the risk is so low that it's not like you're going to be heartbroken if Ohio State loses to Penn State. So probably just roll with the Buckeyes. They're really, really, really talented. And Justin Fields is really, 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 really talented.
Okay.
So I have a hard time seeing Penn State's path to victory. But if you want to mitigate your risk, you can do that.
Ryan, you have like you said, place bets on both teams. You have a calculator and everything to figure out your risk reward. I'm new to the game. I would place bets last week for the first time on DraftKings Sportsbook. Didn't do so well, but I'm not discouraged. I will be placing some more bets this week, but I did not know that you could have like a calculator to head to. Is it hedging?
Hedge. Yeah.
Edge calculator, yep.
Yeah, I had no idea. Learning so many new things, but join in if you haven't bet before. Just place a little bit of money. It makes watching football and watching all sports, I feel like, so much more fun.
Oh yeah.
Because you just kind of, it's like playing fantasy. Like you just have a little more leg in a game you might not have cared about. So
I was on the edge of my seat right before we went on air for EuroLeague basketball. I needed
There
a
you
3 to be
go.
hit, and it didn't hit, and it was devastating. So
I ended up watching the entirety of CSU Fresno State last night because in the second half I took a CSU team total under 26.5.
Okay, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get this can't-miss offer. Pick either Penn State or Ohio State. These guys right here are telling you Ohio State. Justin, Henry, do you guys say Penn or Ohio?
Ohio State's a lock. Like,
Yeah.
there is no reason to ever consider Penn State.
Justin?
Take Ohio State and run. But
Okay.
if both of these programs could somehow lose, that would be tremendous.
That's $1 to win $100 when you sign up using the promo code DNVR for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Bonus comprised of a first deposit bonus and a first bet match, each up to $500. Deposit bonus requires 25x playthrough. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And of course, if you have a gambling problem, be sure to call 1-800-522-4700. For people watching the live stream, the sun keeps moving. And now I'm being blinded. So I don't know what to do. I have tried avoiding the sun at all costs because I'm outside and I can't. So sorry for squinting like this.
well, you look like an angel with the light shining on you, Allie, so have no fear.
I can't see and my eyes are very watery,
Oh,
but
that's fine.
I'll take the compliment.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Hank, you gonna head out or are you gonna
I am going to head out.
Oh, okay.
But you guys are going to talk about candy?
Yes.
I just like to say that if you guys think there's a bad candy, then you're kind of just a hater. Like all these things that people keep saying, it's like, oh, it's all really good. And whatever any of you say about a candy being bad, you are wrong.
Do you like black licorice?
Oh, and then he leaves.
Wow,
A
Mike
mic
drop.
drop.
Oh.
Literally
well done.
fails. All right.
Black
Okay.
licorice is yummy.
Well, I mean, why not? I was going to say we could dive into some more football talk and talk about the Broncos, but, Henry just led us right in. It's Halloween weekend. Let's talk a little bit about some candy before we talk some sad Broncos news. So much sad football. Why?
It's Halloween. It's spooky season,
No, I think it's just like our lucks as fans.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah, truly.
Exactly.
Oh boy.
All right, Ryan, you felt like you needed to argue with Henry. So what is your take on what is the best Halloween candy? Or what's the best candy? And then what's the worst?
Yeah.
Oh man,
Oh,
best is-
yeah.
the best is really is tough. There's so many good ones, but the worst I would have to say is probably Good and Plenty.
Oh, oof, good and plenty.
I have never heard of that.
Oh, it's like you're being punished when you eat good and plenty.
It's like Vegemite and Marmite.
No,
I'm
nothing like that. They come in like a little pink box. They look like little like pink pills.
Yeah,
I've
it's true.
never heard of that. What is it called?
Good and Plenty.
Good and plenty. So it's like like licorice inside, but it kind of has a candy covering on the outside, but the candy covering that doesn't help at all. That's kind of nasty as well.
I have seen these actually.
Yeah, there you go.
everyone's seen those.
Oof, yuck. Just looking at them, it's revolting.
Also, things that suck. Almond Joy,
yeah,
Mounds,
yeah.
both garbage.
Yeah.
Child out here avoiding coconut.
Yeah, coconut is like those. Coconut does not belong in my candy.
I think
so-
one of those has been like they're out of business.
Oh, really?
Well, maybe I had a fever dream months ago, but I thought I heard Almond Joy was like done.
No, I still seen Almond Joy at 7-Eleven.
Oh yeah, those are the worst.
Okay, Andre, what's your least favorite candy?
My grandpa really likes Neckos. When he
those
grew
are
up
gnar.
during the Depression, he would save up his money and go buy himself Neckos for like a
Some Necco
penny.
wafers.
So he loves those, but they're like it's like eating a Tums. I don't know. I don't
Wait,
get
what?
why.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, look them up. It's just a weird candy to have. Obviously, very old school. But Ryan covered some good ones. I will say there's a lot of misinformation about black licorice. There's like sweet black licorice, and then there's more hardcore black licorice where they're not sweetening it up. That stuff's disgusting. But the sweet black licorice, that's good. And the best, I've already gone on record already on this same podcast, I think, in saying that mini Snickers is the king of Halloween. There's something about the mini version of Snickers that heightens its Snickerness, and you really only get that during Halloween. So that's the most special of all Halloween treats, right there.
Was that a Halloween podcast a year ago, or was that an Off the Rails podcast?
I think that was like a mere couple weeks ago on this.
Okay, I was
very
gonna
same
say
podcast.
this can't be a year ago.
Yeah, no.
I was like, where is time going?
Yeah, for real.
Okay, Justin, what is your least favorite candy?
I pretty much only like chocolate. So I don't like Skittles. I don't like any of the
Ooh, Skittles are good.
that type of candy, you know, the non-chocolate stuff. I would say Dots are the worst because they get
Oh.
stuck in your teeth and
Ooh,
they don't
those
even
are
really have
very
any
chewy.
good flavor.
Yeah.
So like
But they're
kind of
basically
what's the
just
point?
gummy bears, aren't they? Like,
They're
yeah,
like
but they don't have
hard
very
gummy
much
bears.
flavor, and yeah, they get hard really fast. And
They're
I don't
too
know.
like the gooiness is a sticky gooiness, which
Yeah.
like good in a brownie, not great in like a candy.
Brownies.
Just saw a commercial, M&M fudge brownies. I'm making that an adult goal to try those this
M&M
Halloween.
fudge brownies. Wow,
Yeah.
that does sound good.
Yeah.
I love
My
M&Ms though. That's my favorite for the record.
Just
My-
straight regular M&Ms.
I like M&Ms or peanut M&Ms or peanut butter M&Ms. I just like M&Ms.
Yeah, I put regular M&Ms at the bottom of the M&M scale. All the other versions are better than the original, I think.
I think my favorite candy,
They have a lot.
and it's because I just ate them so much when I was little, were Rolos.
Oh,
Good choice.
Rolos are
But-
Rolos
so
are
good.
bomb.
again a little too sticky on the fillings, you know.
Oh, I love them. And they're small enough where you're just like,
They're
You
like
know-
milk duds without all the pain.
yes. Wow.
Well, maybe I'm
what
thinking
a good
Milk
description.
Duds, yeah.
Um,
Those are
Those
good.
taste so good. They're almost worth it. That's the one
I
that
know.
I maybe will struggle through just because they're delicious.
It's true.
We've got Colorado
Yeah.
Travis here saying Tootsie Rolls. I kind of agree with Henry. Like, there is very little candy or chocolate that you put in front of me that I'll be like, actually, I'm good. Like, if I've got
Well,
a candy in front of me, then I'm gonna eat the candy. Like, if there's a candy bowl, sure, and there's only Tootsie Rolls, I'm gonna grab one. So
Yeah.
I agree with Henry in the sense that when it comes to certain candies, I feel the same about donuts. Like, you put a donut in front of me, it doesn't matter if it's Voodoo from 7-Eleven or if it's from King Soopers Freshly Baked. I'm gonna eat the donut. So, Tootsie
Yeah.
Rolls, I'm not a fan of, but you know.
I'm the same way, but like I'll never go to the store and get a fruity candy. Like if I'm like splurging on candy, every time I'm going something chocolatey.
Oh
That's
no,
where
I
I'm
go
at, like,
for
I'll eat
sour
Starburst.
gummy worms.
Mm.
Sour gummy worms are so good. Okay,
Sour
want-
Skittles are low
Ooh,
key.
sour
really
Skittles
good.
are so
Skittles are
good,
lit.
too.
Yes. it's
Okay,
true.
our DNVR Nuggets guys on DNVA show today had a candy draft, and I want us to go over it because I feel like this is the perfect podcast to do that and give our vote. So for the podcast listeners, Harrison chose Reese's, Starburst, Twix, Baby Ruth, and Caramel Apple Pop, which on the Free Skate Friday DNVR Avalanche podcast, they didn't know what Caramel Apple Pops were. Those are bomb. Personally, I think so.
That's
That
an
was an incredible last pick of the draft by Harrison because
That's
it was a snake draft. So
apple on a stick
no,
covered
no.
in caramel.
No.
That's what it is. No.
This is it's like
I'll have to look it up.
what do you call those things that you lick on like a
It's Halloween Buffs, big man. So we're talking some candy. We talk some Buffs. We talk some CSU. Then we're gonna get to the Broncos. You know, this podcast
Oh,
is
yeah,
about
like-
everything.
Oh,
they're like a
interesting.
Tootsie Roll, or they're like a Tootsie Pop, but
Yeah.
instead it's like an apple thing covered in caramel.
I've never tried these.
Caramel,
But they look
Caramel.
interesting.
caramel,
This is not the
Caramel.
East Coast. It's
caramel. Do you all say caramel?
I
No,
mean,
we don't say
Colorado.
the A.
We say
Yeah, I
caramel.
I don't say caramel. That's for sure. Not an elitist, you know.
Like
saying,
caramel candies.
saying caramel is not elitist.
Yes, it is.
Oh, would you
What
pass the
are you-
caramel, please?
I would like my ice cream with some caramel toppings.
Yeah.
It's spelled like caramel, not caramel. Caramel sounds so much more like pretentious.
Stop
Not
saying the A. There's
caramel,
no
just
A.
caramel.
It's just caramel.
Caramel.
Yeah,
But
Caramel.
there is an A in the
it's
spelling.
silent.
It's silent.
Oh, whatever. That could be a whole podcast in
Allie's
itself.
the person who's going to say caramel and then turn around and say jaguar.
Yeah, caramel and jaguars. Go away. I
Oh,
speak the way
boy.
I speak. Okay. Adam had Skittles, Reese's Pieces, peanut M&Ms, hot tamales, and Mr. Goodbar.
Wow. Out of left field with hot tamales. I
Interesting.
mean-
Tamales rule. That's the one non-chocolate I'll eat. That and Starburst.
Honestly, Adam should be canceled. For how
Okay, Brendan
Strong
chose
agree.
Snickers, M&Ms, Hershey bars, Kit Kats, and Three Musketeers.
Just a strong lineup there.
Yeah.
It's
Three
all
Musketeers
chocolate.
overrated.
It's a man's man list, you know. I think Hershey's bar kind of crappy. That's really the worst chocolate you'll find in
Yeah, why would you
circulation.
go Hershey? Like Hershey's bar should have been not
Mhm.
drafted.
And again, classic
I like
M&M.
Hershey bars.
It's all the same chocolate, guys. The Reese's, Hershey's, M&Ms. It's all the exact same milk chocolate.
But there's
Don't you
different-
get into big chocolate conspiracies with me, young man. Also, I think a major oversight by Vote, who had a huge opening with his second pick. He basically, if he had said peanut M&Ms, he basically is stealing Reese's Pieces. Like, I don't know how they haven't been sued. It's a real like Coke Pepsi thing, but I think M&M really stepped on the Reese's Pieces toes by doing peanut M&Ms. They still work. They're basically the same thing. I might side with M&Ms. I think he does that. This is a clear winner in the draft. By taking
hold on.
basic classic M&Ms, as you said, Ryan, that's the lowest of the M&Ms.
Hold on.
Major
Reese's
mismatch.
Pieces and peanut M&Ms aren't similar in any way.
I'm sorry, what?
Now, Reese's Pieces and peanut butter M&Ms are similar.
Oh, what did I say? Peanut?
Yeah.
Well,
But-
peanuts off the board. Adam has those. So yes, I meant peanut butter.
No,
I'm so
because
sorry.
Vote selected M&Ms with his second round pick.
Right.
So
He should have
was
still
right-
added peanut butter M&Ms, right?
Well, he should have taken peanut butter M&Ms or peanut M&Ms because this is a snake trap. So it goes.
Right. Snake. Yeah.
So that's the only fault there. He messed that one up, but he has the best group here. Although Three Musketeers, I can't even remember what those are.
Yum. Three Musketeers are good. Okay. Eric, D-Line Co's picks were Milky Way, Butterfingers, Sour Patch Kids, Nerds, and Twizzlers.
Milky Way going in the first round is the reach of the century.
Yeah, it's a reach. It's absolutely a reach. That stands out in a major
Okay.
way.
Taking dark
I'm not a
over mellow,
Twizzlers
like
guy.
you said, man. That's awful.
What?
So what?
Taking that in the first round. That's like passing up on Mello in the first round. That's a
Yep.
Detroit Pistons move.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
that
love
is-
Three Musketeers. Okay, so
We're talking Milky Way. We're trashing Milky Ways.
I was just stating someone in the
Oh,
comments
oh,
that Three
oh,
Musketeers
oh.
are delicious, and I said I agree. Okay, so who are you voting for? Who had the best draft?
Vote.
Do we all agree vote? Do you need
No,
to see it
I
one
gotta
more
give
time?
it to Harrison.
I agree. It's Harrison or vote for me.
No, I haven't ever tried a caramel apple pop, so that's where I'm a
They're
bit
bomb.
out of my element. But it is between those two. God, that is tough. That is tough.
We've got Antonio here saying RK doesn't understand great candy.
I don't know what you want from me. I feel like
No.
I haven't even had a controversial opinion yet.
I think Vote gets it. I think Vote gets it.
Okay.
Well
See
done.
if I can move into the shade again. It's really just based on where the sun hits the tree. Okay. I think that's enough candy talk, as Buff's big man wants some sports talk, which that's
Wow.
what this podcast is. But before we get to some Broncos talk, Green Mountain Dental Group is located in Lakewood, and they are one of the best dentists in the metro area. They're extreme Colorado sports fans, and you know, when you sign up for a cleaning, x-ray, and exam at Green Mountain Dental Group, you're going to receive a free Sonicare toothbrush. You're eating all of this candy on Halloween. You need a Sonicare toothbrush. A regular toothbrush isn't going to cut it. It's not going to get in there and get all that gunk out of your teeth. And the first thing to good health is clean teeth. And so go sign up. Go visit Green Mountain Dental Group and get a cleaning, x-ray, and exam so you can receive a free Sonicare toothbrush. They are so awesome and they're so kind, and supporting them, it's a local business, supports us and helps us out. So please go give them some love and you'll get a free Sonicare toothbrush. Hard to not want that.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. Just responding to my guy Antonio in the comments. Isn't a Milky Way just a Snickers without the peanuts?
That's correct. Essentially.
I think so.
Yeah. No, and no nougat,
No
right?
caramel,
Snickers also has nougat.
Yeah, nougat.
Milky Way is just chocolate with caramel
I
inside.
don't know what the fuck.
Oh.
Not having a Heath bar in any of those 5 rounds, I think, is a great oversight.
Heath bar is way better than.
Oh,
He muted himself.
did anyone else hear that? I
Yeah,
just hear better and better and better and better.
I did too. Yeah,
You back,
Heath bar's way better than most of those. Let's see if Ryan can talk to us.
You there?
Can you hear me?
Yes. I was gonna say we're talking Broncos, so I kind of need you, bud.
Bars are better than Butterfinger.
Whoa. Okay, now that's
Better than the
spicy
new
take.
Butterfinger for sure. They changed their recipe a couple years ago, and it's
What?
not the same.
I don't like what's inside the Butterfinger. This like flaky, weird
Peanut
thing.
butter. Yeah. it's
Also, I
flaky
hate the
peanut
word
butter.
nougat.
I do too. I really don't like that word.
Nougat.
I don't like you saying it. So.
Okay, let's move on to some Broncos talk. Ryan, the Broncos take on the Chargers this Sunday. Fans, Broncos country, they're feeling really down after that performance against the Chiefs, but I think they're feeling even more down because so much of Broncos country has lost hope on Drew Lock already. I know where you stand, Ryan, but tell the people who are kind of on the verge of losing hope, who haven't lost hope yet, why they should not lose hope on Drew Lock just yet.
I don't know how you can judge a guy in his 8th start and forget the 8 starts. We're talking about his 3rd start in a brand new offense with no offseason, coming off of an injury. I mean, he has the entirety of lists of reasons why you should be patient. I don't even want to call them excuses because I don't think that's what it is. It's just calm down. Like that's all this is. It's just a list of reasons of why you should calm down. Drew Lock in the last 6 seasons of his career has only gotten to the 2nd year of an offense once. The best year of his career. He threw 44 touchdowns and I believe 13 interceptions at Missouri. And I think it's really unfortunate. This is a tough take because I'm not blaming I don't think Pat Shurmur is a bad hire, or at least I think the book is still out on that.
Yeah.
But I also think the Broncos, if this season is all about evaluating Drew Lock, which I think it is, I think they did him a disservice by firing Rich Gangarello, getting him started all over again. Now, they couldn't have predicted the pandemic, but there's like a long list of things here that should just suggest you to say, okay, pump the brakes a little bit. And that's my main takeaway here. The other thing is, in games that he's finished, Drew Lock is undefeated against teams that weren't in the AFC Championship game last year. He's got 2 losses to the Chiefs and a loss to the Titans. You can put, technically the Steelers game is on his record, but it doesn't. I mean, anyone who watched that game knows it wasn't. He didn't really have an impact on that game. He had a bad start, which of course people that are ready to write him off won't let you forget. But I just want people to calm down. That's all it is. It's his 8th game, which is still really early, but it's even more early for him. He has things he's got to work on. He needs to stop fading away when he's throwing for no reason. He needs to get better at climbing the pocket. He needs to get better at a lot of things. And so do most quarterbacks when they're this young. So I get that Justin Herbert is really skewing a lot of people's perspective on this, but Justin Herbert is an outlier. It almost never works like this, where you just walk in and you're instantly, putting up extremely good numbers. And even Patrick Mahomes, he went through 2 off seasons before he became the full-time starter for the Chiefs. So it even took a little bit of patience with him. I just got to calm down. Everyone's just got to calm down. He's got 10 more starts ahead of him this year. Hopefully, I'll touch wood as long as he stays healthy. And at the end of that, we might have a sample size large enough to really be able to make a big decision on Drew Lock. Now, I might say that it's not even fair to evaluate him then, but the NFL isn't fair, and I know how these things work. So it is. The Broncos are probably going to have to make a decision on what they want to do moving forward at the quarterback position at the end of this year. But there's absolutely no reason to start to sign, to sell all of your Drew Lock stock right now. I know he has it between the ears. I know he wants to be great. I know he has a lot of the characteristics that you need. Now he's just got to go learn from his mistakes and apply it on the football field. He's got shorter than I think most people would want him to have to do that. But I still think he's very capable of learning and getting better.
Do you guys think that people's takes on Drew Lock wouldn't be as bad as they are right now if some of those receivers caught those touchdowns during that Patriots game and his stat line went up? Do you think it really is that much of a difference of, his receivers weren't catching balls? Felt like I was watching the Eagles out there. His stat line wasn't very good against the Patriots. Not terrible, but not good. And then he came out in the snow and tried to be Patrick Mahomes when he can't be and performed what?
I disagree with that take, but regardless, he had a terrible game.
He was out there. He looked like he was trying to play like so well, and it just wasn't working out for him.
I don't hate that description. If you're giving an elevator pitch on what happened in that snow game, that's actually the best I've heard right now. Yeah, I think that's apt analysis.
Anyways, do you think it really is that thin of a line of if he would have had better stats and played better and had more touchdowns against the Patriots, people wouldn't be freaking out this much?
I mean, Drew Lock went into Foxborough and led a team that beat the Patriots.
But people were still upset.
And let me finish. But because the stats aren't there, no one's excited about it.
Yeah.
And if he completes, let's just say he ends that game with, I'll keep the interceptions on the table because I know people freaked out when I took them off. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The Broncos score 36 points and blow out the Patriots on the road. Are you kidding me? People would be in a totally different mind frame right now. But it's the fact that he had that game where the stats, they weren't just okay. They were terrible. They looked terrible on paper.
Yeah.
They looked awful on paper. He had that game and then followed up with a game where he actually was awful. Yeah. That's why people are slamming the panic button right now. Because the further away you get from a game, the less the perspective exists on that game. You just look back. And now someone can say, over the last 2 weeks, Drew Lock is this, and this with 3 interceptions and 0 touchdowns and a 50% completion rate. Like, it looks bad. So, yeah, if they make those plays and they blow out the Patriots and Drew has awesome stats, it's a totally different story right now.
Yeah.
Justin, Andre, how do you guys feel about Drew Lock?
Good, Justin.
I mean, I think RK pretty much covered it in a sense of we've seen the flashes, and there's definitely been enough there to understand that this guy looks like, he can be the real deal. Yeah, there's plenty of room for improvement. But, panicking after 8 games, especially given everything that happened in the offseason, coming off of this injury, I just think it's kind of a bad look for Broncos country in general and kind of indicative of just how reactive we seem to get over every single week. We just got to remember, it's the course of a season. It's the course of a couple of seasons when developing young quarterbacks. I'm not anywhere near ready to sell my stock.
Yeah, I do think that Broncos fans expect so much from that quarterback position.
Oh, yeah.
And then after dealing with Paxton Lynch, Trevor Siemian, Case Keenum, Joe Flacco, I understand it's been really bad at that QB position for Broncos fans. Yeah. But he's still pretty much a rookie. He needs time to develop, and you see that all around the league with quarterbacks. It's not just a Drew Lock scenario. Like you mentioned, Ryan, a few examples. It took quarterbacks time to become who they later were and are right now.
That's the problem with the city, though, with quarterbacks. It's a meat grinder. It's the toughest position to play in Denver by far, just because the standards are two of the 5 greatest, not just quarterbacks, arguably 2 of the, top 10 greatest football players of all time, in Peyton Manning and John Elway. And that's the standard. The fans shouldn't have to lower their standards, but I think they also need to understand that those are incredibly high standards to put on a kid who not only is dealing with this offseason that's wacky for everyone, especially in a new offense with a largely new receiving core and everything, but wasn't able to practice in person with his teammates for a large part of last year because he was dealing with that thumb injury and trying to get reps, doing the virtual stuff and all of that. And I think, regardless of some up and down starts in these 8 games, it's undeniable that Drew Lock in the post Peyton Manning era by far has given the Broncos the best chance at winning games, game in and game out. I mean, it's not even close to, how you kind of felt like dead in the water with other quarterbacks, and it was just 3 and out after 3 and out, and you kind of needed a miracle just to convert a couple first downs. Now with Drew, you really seem to have a chance in each game. I mean, they outgained that Chiefs offense despite him playing terribly. And, you take away some god-awful mistakes that are absolutely unacceptable by a pro football team. And that's not just Drew. I'm talking about the flea flicker and the kick return. You're going to lose those games, and you're going to lose them bad against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think there are some positives to take from this given the circumstances, but it's going to be a big second half of the season. Big second half.
Ryan, Tim Patrick and Philip Lindsay are questionable for Sunday. Do you think we'll see them out there?
Yeah, I do. Phil looks like he progressed pretty darn quick through the concussion protocol. Now, it's always finicky. You can fail the last stage and you don't get to play. But it looks like he'll be out there. Tim Patrick, I think, will be out there as well. Obviously, the bigger concern is on the offensive line.
With Glasgow.
Yeah, Glasgow tests positive for COVID today. Then you've got multiple other guys deemed as close contact, so they'll be monitoring them really closely. If you go away unscathed and you just get away with it just being Glasgow, you put an Austin Schlottman behind him, you're going to be okay. Yeah. But Dotson listed as a close contact, and one other starter, it might have even been Schlottman, who was listed as a close contact. That happened. If you're without those guys, and maybe another offensive line, it's going to be really messy. The only, I guess, solace, which I don't like using that word in this scenario because it sucks for everyone, is that the Chargers are dealing with the exact same thing right now.
Yeah.
They're going to be without their offensive line. I joked on Twitter they should just play this game 7-on-7 because neither team is going to have their offensive line out there. It looks like Broncos might end up being on the luckier side of this, but both teams are going to be rough along the offensive line, which, I don't know. It hurts both teams a lot because on one side you've got Bradley Chubb, on the other side you've got Joey Bosa. It could be a really sloppy one if these teams are without offensive linemen. But I really do think it could come down to which team loses more as to what team is going to win this football game.
Yeah. The Broncos are 3.5-point underdogs in this game on DraftKings Sportsbook right now. How are we feeling about that spread? Right. Besides last week, I think the Broncos are now 4-2 against the spread. Thoughts? Let's start with Andre.
Well, I mean, I think that this will be a game where Herbert's going to be tested more than he's been tested so far. For one, the offensive line injuries will come into play. And I think the other part is, Vic Fangio and Ed Donatel will know how to handle an athletic rookie quarterback. This isn't their first rodeo. So they're going to, I was very surprised to see the Broncos kind of hand out the same medicine some of their opponents have, especially when Drew Lock wasn't there and getting some free blitzers through. Herbert's been very good at just escaping from free blitzes, but that's not going to last forever. He's going to be caught off guard. I also think that the Denver's more zone-heavy scheme might take away some of those open vertical shots that Herbert's been given in his first few starts, and is going to force him to think the game through. And I think there'll be some mistakes at home, even without a large crowd. this seems like too much. I'm leaning towards Denver against the spread here.
All right, Justin.
Yeah, the Chargers with what they've shown, and particularly with what Denver's shown offensively over the last couple of weeks, I don't love this matchup with the offensive line concerns with Bosa coming in. I don't feel great about it. I hate picking against the Broncos in a divisional game at home, but like Andre said, no home fans. You don't have a ton of momentum right now. And that spread's not very overwhelming. It's not like a 6-point spread or something like that, 3.5 points. I think they probably win this game by at least a touchdown. So I feel pretty good about the Chargers covering there.
Ryan?
Again, it comes down to these offenses.
Oh, you're muted.
I don't know what's going on here. Assuming, am I good now?
Yeah.
Assuming that the Broncos keep their offensive line intact, I'm actually taking the Broncos to win straight up. I think, the home field advantage does matter. It's not as big as it used to be, obviously, but it does matter. There's a comfort involved there. I also just think that the Broncos haven't had like a normal situation going into a game. And again, if they end up losing half their offensive line, that will continue.
Right.
But, this is going to be Drew's first normal kind of start since the first game of the season, in which he was good, not great. And of course, the Broncos didn't get the ball in the end zone and they ended up losing. But I think it might be an offensive breakout for them this week. I think they're going to focus on getting the ball more to Jerry Jeudy. Mm-hmm. I think that Albert Okwuegbunam is really just like on the verge of blossoming at any second here. I mean, in his second game, he has 7 catches for 70 yards on 7 targets. Like, he's ready to explode. Noah should be more healthy. I just think this is one where they kind of put it together for a home game for once, and they get this one. And I think, man, I hope I'm right about this, because, if Justin Herbert goes out there and outduels Drew Lock and the Broncos lose this one, the narrative is just going to be in the garbage. It's going to be a garbage fire.
It's going to be very bad.
I think Drew is just due for one, where he kind of, turns around this narrative on his head. And next week we're back to saying, oh, all the people who are, doubting him were wrong. And then after the next game, they might have a bad game. And all the people who are doubting him are saying, all of you are idiots. And I think that's kind of going to be the way that this goes for the rest of the year. So I think this is a good one. This ends up being a good one for the Broncos.
All right. Well, if you aren't going to Mile High, Empowered Field at Mile High, check out the DNVR bar for the Broncos game. It's such a fun atmosphere. We are doing first come, first serve instead of RSVP, with, of course, all of these COVID regulations and what the governor or the mayor has put in place. We still have a good amount of room and would appreciate the support, of course. So check us out. Check out Blake Street Tavern. Just support local businesses, please. I hope everyone stays safe. We'll see what happens with the Buffs, CSU, and the Broncos. And we will see you guys all next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.